Hi everyone, I'm Sweet Grace Delosa, and today I'm going to be sharing to you a certain topic. But first, I want you to look at the screen. So, it's actually a word with scrambled letters, and I want you to guess what that word is. So, it is communication. So, today we'll be talking about communication. So we have some elements of communication. So I want you to remember the lessons that we have learned from our previous grades or when we're still in high school. So the elements of communication are the speaker. Speaker is the first one. And then the message that is being sent and encoding, which is being done by the speaker. And then the channel, the medium of communication, decoding, which is being done by the receiver, and the receiver, the feedback, which is the message that is being sent by the receiver back to the speaker, and then the context, the message itself, and then the barrier. So the barrier can be a noise or anything that blocks the speaker from sending the message to the receiver. Okay, now, so I want to ask you some questions. Why is it important to communicate? So, why do you think is it important to communicate? So, imagine life without communication. Is it possible? So, imagine not communicating to your loved ones or to your family. Is it even possible? So, how does communication work? Okay. So right now, we're going to be talking about the models of communication. The first one that I'm going to be discussing is the Shannon-Weaver model of communication. Here. So in this model, first is the information source. This is the first element. And then the transmitter. So basically, the information source is the brain of the transmitter because it is the source of the idea of the transmitter. And then the transmitter encodes the idea and sends the message to the receiver through the channel. Okay, so channel is the medium of the communication. For example, um, it can be a phone or it can be any devices or anything that can be a medium of communication. So here in the channel, we have a noise source. So noise source are the noises that can block us or can block the receiver from clearly receiving the message. Okay, so when we are, for example, calling someone or the transmitter is calling the receiver and there is a dog barking beside the transmitter or the sender, that is already a noise source. So poor signal or poor internet connection is also a noise source that can block the receiver from receiving the message. Okay, so after this is the receiver receives the message and then it goes to the destination, which is also the brain of the receiver or the decoder. So in Shannon-Weaver model, it is a linear communication, as what you have noticed lately. It's a linear communication from the sender or the transmitter, and then the channel, and then to the receiver. In Shannon-Weaver model, it has 5 elements: the source, the transmitter, the channel, the receiver, and the destination. But it has a missing element. What do you think is a missing element? It's actually the feedback. So as what you have noticed lately, the receiver doesn't give feedback to the message that is being sent by the transmitter. Okay, so some examples of this kind of communication is a formal communication. For example, like SONA, or a formal speech given by the principal, or anything that is formal, that the transmitter is the only one giving the message to the people or to the receiver, but the receiver is not allowed to give feedback to the transmitter. Okay, so that's the Shannon-Weaver model. The next one is the transaction model. So here's a diagram. So we have here 2 communicators. Communicator right here and a communicator right here also. So the communicator is the one that sends and receives the message. So the communicator right here, for example, is the one that sends the message, and then the message is sent through the channel and then sent to the communicator, the second communicator, who receives the message. And when he already interprets the message, then he will also send a message back to the first communicator. So it's actually a vice versa process. So in here, noise is still present. So noise is really uncontrollable and it's everywhere. So it's always right there in the communication models that we will talk about. Okay, so transaction model is a two-way process, as what you have um, noticed lately, or as what you have seen lately. It's a two-way process. Feedback is one important element of the communication. So in the Shannon-Weaver model, we don't have feedback, right? But in transaction model, feedback is one important element of communication. So one example of this is like when you're talking with your friend, it's actually a casual communication. So when you're talking with your friend, you're gonna say what's on your mind, and he's gonna say what's on his mind also. So the speaker can be a listener, and the listener can also be a speaker. So it's like you are exchanging of ideas. So noise is present from speaker to receiver and from receiver to speaker also. Next model is the Scrum model. All right. So in Scrum model, we have, it's actually like a Venn diagram. We have the center field of experience and frame of mind. And we also have this receiver's field of experience and frame of mind. The first element is the sender, which encodes the message and sends the message through the channel. And then when the receiver has already received the message, then he has to decode the message, and then he will respond to the sender. And noise is still present, and then the feedback is sent back to the sender. So that is the Scrum model. So Scrum model is modified. It's a modification from the Shannon-Weaver model. But in here, um, feedback is present, unlike the Shannon-Weaver model, which has no feedback. And field of experience is considered. So the field of experience is considered because we should have, or the speaker and the sender, the sender and the receiver should have a background of the topic that they are trying to discuss so that they can communicate with each other. Because when you have no background of the topic, then you cannot say your idea about that topic. So in here, field of experience is being considered. Okay. So let us review the three communication models that we have discussed. First is the Shannon-Weaver model, which is the linear communication. And the missing element is the feedback. And in the transaction model, it's a two-way process, not like the Shannon-Weaver. It's just a linear. It's a one-way process. So in transaction model, feedback is one important element, unlike the Shannon-Weaver. Speaker can be listener and vice versa. The listener can also be a speaker. So in Scrum model, feedback is still present, just like the transaction model. And Scrum model is a modification of the Shannon-Weaver model. But in Scrum model, the field of experience is considered, which is the knowledge or the background of the receiver and the sender of that certain topic that they are trying to discuss about. Okay, so before I end this presentation, I want to show this quote. Communication is power, so communicate well. Thank you so much for watching and for listening to my video. And I hope that you have learned something from this video, and God bless. Have a good day.